Everyone laughed until the engine roared to life. What if I told you a 13-year-old boy walked into a room full of experts and did the one thing no one else could? This isn't just a story about fixing machines. It's about breaking expectations, silencing doubt, and showing the world that sometimes the quietest one in the room has the loudest impact. If stories like this light something inside you, if you believe in raw talent, relentless grit, and unexpected heroes, then do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and help this channel reach our first 1,000 subscribers. Together, let's keep telling the stories they said weren't possible. Now, buckle up, because Logan's about to change everything. The classroom hummed with anticipation, but not the good kind. It was that uncomfortable, electric tension right before something, or someone, crumbled. Fluorescent lights flickered above, casting a cold, sterile glow on the cluttered room. Oil-stained textbooks, rusted parts, and half-dismantled machines filled every corner. A dozen students shifted in their seats, eyes flicking between each other, some whispering, some smirking. All of them turned when the door creaked open. Logan stepped in. 13 years old, small for his age, with worn-out sneakers and a jacket that clung to his thin frame like it had weathered more winters than he had birthdays. His hands, though young, bore the stains of grease and grit, marks of hours spent alone in his uncle's old auto shed. His dark curls were a mess, and he looked like he belonged more in a scrapyard than in an advanced mechanics class. But his eyes were calm, alert, and focused. Too focused for a kid that age. "Logan," Mr. Pratt's voice rang out from the front, sharp, measured, the kind of voice that never asked, it commanded. "You think you're special?" He gestured to a hulking, half-dead engine in the middle of the lab. "That monstrosity hasn't run in years. Even my seniors couldn't make it cough. Let's see what magic you think you've got." A ripple of laughter. One student even whispered, "He's gonna cry in under 5 minutes." But Logan didn't blink. He walked forward, steady steps across the linoleum floor, past skeptical faces, and muttered jokes. The moment his fingers touched the edge of the cold steel engine, the room seemed to shrink. He didn't see the eyes on him, didn't hear the snide comments. He saw the machine. What others called a rusting relic, Logan saw as a mystery begging to be solved. He'd grown up in silence, in the quiet hum of late nights under fluorescent garage bulbs, listening to the language of pistons and timing belts. His parents had long since given up trying to steer his obsession elsewhere. While other kids played video games or kicked soccer balls, Logan took apart broken lawnmowers, rewired radios, and once rebuilt a dirt bike from scratch using only salvaged parts. But none of that mattered here. In this room, he was just the kid. Mr. Pratt circled him like a predator, arms crossed. "Don't touch anything yet," he snapped. "Let's see how confident you are. Tell us what's wrong with it, just from standing there." The class chuckled again. Logan stayed quiet, studying the machine with a surgeon's intensity. Then, calmly, he spoke. "Carbs misaligned. Spark plugs probably fouled. There's likely a blockage in the fuel line based on the smell. Old gas. And someone rerouted the wiring. But they didn't ground the ignition module." A hush fell. Mr. Pratt's lips tightened. He didn't like being shown up, especially not by someone who wasn't supposed to belong. "Fine," he said after a beat. "You've got 10 minutes. Logan nodded and knelt beside the engine. What came next wasn't flashy, it wasn't loud or showy, but it was art. He moved with quiet efficiency, not rushing, not hesitating. He removed panels with practiced hands, checked connections, sniffed the gas line, and adjusted a choke valve with a subtle flick. The crowd watched, some still amused, others slowly shifting toward curiosity. Still, the doubt hung thick in the air. Some kids whispered bets under their breath. Others just waited for him to fail. Even Mr. Pratt leaned in, arms still folded, but no longer smug. He was watching more carefully now, but Logan wasn't doing this for them. He remembered every night he'd sat cross-legged on a concrete floor, hands numb from the cold, his uncle beside him muttering, "Don't fix the machine." Understand it. He remembered the sting of every time someone told him, "You're just a kid." And now, here he was, fingers tracing the soul of this stubborn engine. He could feel it, hear it. The way it resisted, fought back, then yielded under his touch. One of the older students scoffed from the back. "He's wasting time." Kid probably saw this on YouTube. But Logan didn't flinch. This engine wasn't just metal, it was his battlefield. And he'd been fighting this war his whole life. The workshop wasn't just a room anymore, it was an arena. Every breath Logan took felt like it echoed off the metal walls. Every pair of eyes burned into his back like spotlights in a theater of doubt. This wasn't about engines anymore, it was about proving he belonged. Mr. Pratt stepped closer, arms folded tightly across his chest. "Any time now, Logan. You've impressed us with your guesses, but guesswork doesn't make machines run." Logan didn't look up. He was deep in it now, lost in the subtle clicks and soft groans of the engine's body. He unscrewed a rusted bolt, revealing the tangled mess of the ignition coil. His fingertips worked methodically, peeling back the wires one by one like unraveling a secret. Across the room, a student called Jordan leaned over to a friend and whispered, "He's gonna fry that thing." "Watch." The friend chuckled, loud enough for Logan to hear. But Logan had learned long ago how to tune out noise that didn't serve him. Because in his world, noise was constant. Ever since second grade when he took apart a toy RC car and rebuilt it to go twice the speed. Adults called it a cute trick. Kids called him weird. When he fixed the principal's lawnmower in 5th grade, they joked it was a fluke. Now they were watching, waiting, not to cheer, but to catch him slipping. But Logan knew something they didn't. Machines didn't lie. People did. A sharp metallic clang pulled a few heads around. Logan had dropped a socket wrench. His hand trembled for a second. It wasn't nerves, it was anger. Anger at how quickly people dismissed effort just because it came from a smaller body or a younger voice. He took a breath. Remember what Uncle Ray always said? Control the tool. Don't let the tool control you. He picked up the wrench again, carefully, deliberately. Then, from the other side of the room, a voice rose above the tension. "Let the kid work." It was Olivia, one of the few students who rarely spoke in class. She sat near the back, always scribbling in her sketchbook, eyes like she saw the world in blueprints. Now she was standing, arms crossed, not in defiance but in defense. Mr. Pratt raised an eyebrow but didn't stop her. "Seriously," she added. "Everyone's so busy waiting for him to fail, but none of you have even gotten that thing to cough in months." Some students shifted, unsure whether to support her or stay silent. Jordan rolled his eyes but kept his mouth shut this time. Logan gave her the briefest glance. No smile, no nod, just a flicker of gratitude in his eyes. And then he turned back to the machine. The noise around him muted again. He traced a small tear in the fuel line, barely visible. That could have caused sputtering. He swapped it, reconnected the leads, checked compression, adjusted the throttle. Time was ticking. 3 minutes left, Mr. Pratt said coldly. Logan's pulse quickened. This was it. He reached for the ignition key, silver, scratched, and cold in his hand. He paused, not from fear, but focus. He wasn't afraid of failure. He was afraid of proving them right. So many kids give up, not because they're weak, but because they're tired of being told they're not enough. But Logan wasn't giving up today. He closed his eyes for half a second, whispered something under his breath, maybe a memory, maybe a promise, then turned the key. Nothing. Not even a click. A low wave of laughter bubbled from the back. "Told you!" Jordan smirked. But Logan didn't flinch. He twisted the key again, slow, deliberate. Click, then chug, chug, cough. The engine groaned, then fell silent again. Logan leaned in, adjusted a wire. Olivia held her breath. Then he turned it one more time, and this time the engine coughed, choked, and roared. Not loud at first, but steady. The sound cut through the workshop like thunder through dry skies. The laughter died instantly. Jordan's mouth dropped open. Mr. Pratt took one slow step forward. Olivia's lips parted in silent amazement. But Logan, he just stood there, hand still resting on the ignition, heart pounding, not for the crowd, for himself. The engine's purr wasn't just mechanical, it was a declaration, a rhythmic growl that swallowed every doubt, every insult, every whispered joke. It filled the workshop like an anthem for the underestimated. For a heartbeat, no one moved. The sounds of mockery and smugness were gone, replaced by stunned silence, the kind that only came when reality flipped on its head. Mr. Pratt stared, mouth slightly open, as if the very rules he lived by had just been rewritten. Logan kept his hand on the engine, steadying himself. The vibrations traveled up his arm like a heartbeat, strong, consistent. He didn't smile, he didn't gloat. He just breathed, slow and deep, like someone who knew this moment had been coming all along. Then the murmurs began. Did he just? No way that was real. That engine hasn't started in 3 years. Mr. Pratt approached, each step deliberate. The man, who once towered over the room, now looked like he was navigating a foreign world. He crouched next to the engine, inspected the connections, the wiring, the fuel line Logan had replaced. He didn't speak. Until finally he said, "Who told you to check the ignition grounding?" Logan shrugged. It made sense. Pratt blinked. That line wasn't in any of the diagnostics. "I didn't use your diagnostics," Logan replied quietly. "I used what the engine told me." It wasn't arrogance, it was truth, and somehow that made it hit even harder. Olivia let out a low, astonished whistle. Well, damn. The students who had laughed earlier now hovered awkwardly at the edge of the crowd. Some tried to act like they hadn't doubted him. Others stayed quiet, guilt flickering behind their eyes. But Logan didn't look for apologies. He didn't need their validation. What mattered was the machine, and the silence that came when you proved something undeniable. He stepped back slowly, hands slightly shaking, not from nerves but from the emotional crash that comes after holding yourself together for too long. This wasn't just relief, it was release. A quiet explosion inside his chest, a tide of emotions he'd held back for years. He could hear his uncle's voice again, soft and sure. They'll laugh until they don't. And when they don't, that's when they'll listen. Mr. Pratt straightened, his face unreadable. "That engine wasn't supposed to start," he muttered, not in accusation, but almost in awe. "What's your name again?" "Logan." "Logan what?" "Logan Price." Pratt stared a second longer. "You're not in my records. This class is invitation only." "I know," Logan said. "I walked in." A pause. "You weren't even supposed to be here. I figured I'd let the work speak first." Silence again. Then, to everyone's shock, Mr. Pratt nodded. Just once. Not praise, not surrender, but respect. Logan turned toward the door, ready to leave, but Olivia stepped into his path. "Wait," she said. "You're really just 13? "Almost 14, he answered. She looked him over, then glanced back at the still-running engine. "You just made a lot of people look real dumb." "I wasn't trying to." "Exactly," she said with a small smile. "That's what makes it sting." Logan gave her a quiet look. Grateful, unsure, still processing. And then, for the first time, he smiled. Small, brief, but real. As the class began to buzz with conversation, students moving toward the engine like moths to a flame, Logan stepped aside. He didn't need to bask in it. He didn't want attention, he just needed to know it could be done. But something had shifted. The workshop didn't feel like a battlefield anymore. It felt open. Like maybe there was room for someone like him, like maybe he wasn't an outsider after all. After class, the hallway felt different. Not louder, not busier, just changed. As Logan walked through the wide tiled corridor, the usual murmur of students talking about lunch, sports, and gossip faded beneath the soft echo of his own steps. Heads turned this time. Not with scorn, but with something closer to curiosity, respect maybe, or confusion. He didn't care which. The only thing he noticed was that nobody laughed, not anymore. Behind him, Olivia caught up, walking beside him without asking. She didn't say much, just chewed her pen cap and glanced at him occasionally. Finally, as they reached the doors that led to the quad, she spoke. "Where'd you learn to do that?" Logan shrugged. "Garage, my uncle's, old place behind our house. He used to race when he was young." "And he taught you all that?" "Most of it, the rest I figured out." She raised an eyebrow. "You figured it out, like, on your own?" He nodded. Olivia gave a soft laugh. Not mocking, impressed. "You're like some kind of machine whisperer." "I just listen." "To what? The rattling?" "To everything," Logan replied, eyes steady. "Engines talk. They all have rhythms, patterns. You learn to hear what's off, even if no one else hears it." She looked at him sideways, half a grin tugging at her mouth. "You realize most people your age are still trying to figure out how to work a toaster, right?" Logan said nothing. He'd heard that before, too. Usually as a joke. Sometimes as an insult. But from her, it didn't feel that way. Later that day, in the corner of the lunchroom where the vending machine hummed and the microwave beeped every 30 seconds, Logan sat alone, picking at his sandwich. He didn't mind eating solo, it was familiar. But today, Marcus approached. Marcus, Mr. Pratt's TA. Older, respected, quiet. Someone who had earned his stripes in the same garage Logan only dreamed of working in one day. "You're Logan, right?" he asked, setting his tray across from him without invitation. Logan nodded. Marcus looked thoughtful for a second, then leaned in. "That engine, it wasn't just tough, it was rigged." Logan blinked. "Rigged?" Pratt used it as a test. Changed stuff just to see how people would respond. Wrong wires, loose bolts, bad fuses. It wasn't just broken, it was a trap. Logan's stomach tightened. "You mean he set people up to fail?" Marcus shook his head. "He set people up to think. Most just gave up when the standard methods didn't work." A pause. "You didn't." That truth hit harder than expected. Logan had felt the resistance, sensed something strange, but never guessed it had been designed that way. All this time, he thought he'd beaten an old engine. But he'd actually passed a test no one was meant to pass. Marcus leaned back. "You did something rare, and I don't just mean fixing that thing." "What then?" "You made people see you. not just as a kid but as someone who knows what he's doing. That sentence stuck with Logan long after Marcus left. He thought back to every time someone looked past him. Teachers skipping over his raised hand, customers ignoring him at the garage while asking for the real mechanic, older kids calling him grease monkey like it was an insult. But now even the quiet ones were watching. That night, Logan sat in the garage with the door wide open. Cool air drifted in, mingling with the scent of old oil and metal. The tools hung neatly on the pegboard. His uncle's old motorcycle sat in the corner, half rebuilt, its chrome dulled with time. He sat beside it, wiping down a carburetor slowly. The events of the day replayed in his mind. The hum of the engine, the shocked faces, the shift in Mr. Pratt's tone. But more than that, it was Olivia's comment that echoed. "You made a lot of people look real dumb." He hadn't meant to, but maybe it was necessary. Sometimes the only way to change a room is to shake its foundation. Days passed, but the ripple Logan caused didn't fade, it deepened. Whispers followed him now, not the cruel kind he was used to. These were slower, hesitant, like people still trying to decide what to believe. "That's the kid who fixed the ghost engine. I heard Pratt offered him a mentorship slot. Didn't even use a diagram, just listened." He wasn't used to the attention, and to be honest, he didn't want it. He preferred the sound of sockets clinking in a toolbox over praise. But something had changed in the air around him. For once, people saw him not just as a curiosity, but as a contender. One afternoon, Olivia found him in the auto shop after school, his hands deep in an ancient carburetor that had more rust than hope. "You know you could just say no, right?" she said, dropping her bag beside him. Logan glanced up, one eyebrow raised. To what? To being a legend, the guy, the myth. He shook his head. "I'm not trying to be anything." "Exactly," she said, "and that's why it's working." She sat on a nearby stool and pulled out her sketchbook. The sound of her pencil scratching across paper was oddly comforting, like background music to his thoughts. Mr. Pratt started calling on Logan in class more. But not to test him. Pratt asked real questions now. Challenging ones. The kind you ask someone you expect great things from. The sarcasm in his voice had dulled, replaced by something sterner. Something closer to mentorship. Still, not everyone was convinced. Jordan, unsurprisingly, hadn't given up his crown as a class cynic. "You got lucky," he said one day in front of the others. "One engine doesn't make you a prodigy." Logan looked at him for a long second. You're right," he said, wiping his hands on a rag. "One engine doesn't." And then he walked away. No anger, no comeback, just truth. But it hit harder than any insult. Back in the garage that night, Logan stood before a busted generator from the junkyard, his new project. It didn't look like much, but neither had that engine at school. He eyed it like a chess opponent. Behind him, his Uncle Ray leaned in the doorway, arms crossed, sipping coffee. "You've been quiet," Ray said. "I'm always quiet." Ray chuckled, quieter than usual. Logan stayed focused. "Just thinking." "About the engine?" "No," Logan said. "About what comes after." Ray stepped inside, walking slow. "Proud of you, you know." Logan didn't say anything. Compliments were rare in their house, meant only when they mattered. "You did something real," Ray continued. "Not just because you fixed it, but because you did it with everyone watching." That was the hard part, Logan admitted, finally pausing. Not the machine, the people. Ray nodded. Machines make sense, people don't. There was a beat of silence. "Think you want to do this forever?" Ray asked. Logan stared at the generator, its exposed guts waiting for new life. "Yeah," he whispered, "I think I do." Later that evening, he wrote something in his notebook. Not a schematic, not a checklist, just a sentence. What others call impossible is just what hasn't been understood yet. He underlined it twice. That would be his blueprint. The final week of the semester brought something unexpected, an open challenge. Each student was assigned a different engine, drawn from a lineup of junkyard survivors. Most were skeptical wrecks, machines that hadn't run in years, each with its own cryptic damage history. The assignment: make it run, or at least diagnose why it couldn't. Logan drew a diesel unit no one recognized. Even Mr. Pratt frowned. That one came in from an old farm truck. Haven't seen it turn in a decade. Logan simply nodded. No panic, no wide eyes, just curiosity. He rolled it to the back corner, his quiet place, and went to work. As the days passed, Logan worked in silence while others argued over torque specs and replacement parts. He dismantled the engine like an archaeologist peeling back layers of history. Every bolt, every deposit of carbon told him a story. He listened. Olivia dropped by sometimes, offering notes or just sitting nearby, sketching while he worked. Marcus checked in with advice but never hovered, just nodded when Logan showed progress. Even Jordan, reluctantly, began to peek over now and then, silently studying the boy he used to mock. On the final day, the air in the lab was charged with nervous energy. Engines coughed, some sputtered, others failed with a wheeze. A few sprang to life, greeted by cheers or sarcastic applause. Then Mr. Pratt pointed to the corner. "Price, you're up." Logan stood, wiped his hands, and approached the engine he'd spent a week decoding like a secret language. The class quieted. He checked a connection, closed the fuel cap, then reached for the ignition lever. A pause, a deep breath. He pulled. A heartbeat passed, then a rumble, low, rough, but real. The diesel shook, exhaled black smoke, then settled into a rhythmic thrum that felt like thunder trapped in a cage. The room exploded, not in laughter but applause. Even Mr. Pratt clapped, once, firm, sincere. Later, as students packed up, Olivia walked beside him. "That sound," she said, "that engine starting up? You know what it reminded me of?" Logan looked at her. "What?" "A beginning, like the start of something that won't stop." He didn't answer right away, just smiled. Because she was right. That night, back in the garage, Logan didn't pick up a tool. He just sat, notebook in hand, listening to the distant hum of traffic and remembering the roar of that diesel engine. He scribbled a new line beneath his previous note. "Machines are built from metal, but greatness is built from belief." He shut the notebook gently, and knew, without doubt, that this was only the start. Not just of fixing things, but of rewriting what people think is possible. To me, Logan's story isn't just about engines, it's about courage. It's a reminder that sometimes the biggest victories happen in silence, without applause, without permission, just raw determination. I've seen kids like Logan in real life. Quiet ones, constantly underestimated, who end up surprising everyone not with noise, but with action. And maybe you've been there too, doubted, ignored, told you weren't ready. But here's what I've learned. You don't need to shout to prove your worth. You just need to show up, do the work, and let your results speak louder than words. Have you ever been in Logan's shoes? Have you ever turned doubt into drive and proven someone wrong? Share your story in the comments. I read every one of them, and your journey might inspire the next Logan out there. And hey, if this story resonated with you, or if you believe in shining a light on the underestimated, let's grow this channel together. Help me hit 1,000 subscribers by tapping that subscribe button and ringing the bell so you never miss a new story. We're building something special here, a place where quiet voices get heard and impossible things come to life.